Welcome back, episode 5 of the Bulls Brothers podcast. AJ,
Yeah,
what's up, man?
not much, man. It's a tough week after a tough game there in Raymond James. I can't say that it's a huge surprise that we lost the game, um, but I will say it's a surprise that how we competed, or I would say defensively, how there was a lack thereof competition on our side. Uh, you know. We were there in the stadium. We're in the south end zone where our seats are, and first drive of the game, before the first drive started, when we saw their offensive line come out, you made a comment to me, "Wow, look at their boys compared to our defensive linemen," and
Yep.
if there was, they were head and shoulders above our linemen, and
Yeah, literally.
I guess it showed, for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think it was all terrible. I just think we were outmatched.
Yep.
That's a top eight team, probably going to be the ACC champions, and with a Heisman contender at the helm, and they showed it. They showed it. Um, and that's my thoughts. The long and short of it so far. What about you? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, right there at the beginning of the game, their offensive line walked out onto the field. And I actually believe we made a stop that drive, which thank God. But that would have been one of very few times we actually made a stop on defense. They
Yeah,
didn't score a touchdown every drive, but they damn sure scored every drive, it felt like. And
yeah.
we knew probably towards throughout the end of the first quarter, I turned to you and said, if we don't figure out how to stop them at least one of these drives, it doesn't matter how many points we score. It's going to be a long day.
Yeah,
Um,
and so they did score on that first drive. They
did
marched
they?
down,
Oh, yeah, they did.
pretty easily and scored. Then on the following drive, we marched down and kicked a 57-yard field goal, which quite honestly, I thought
58,
that
I
was
think.
a shining spot in the game,
Right.
that we have that range. That means, and if we get on their side of the 50, we should be looking for 3 points on the board at least, which
Yeah.
is a good
Well,
thing to have.
I think it's a good thing to have in your back pocket, but we
Yeah,
can't be looking for 3 points every time we cross
no,
the other side of the field. And I think that's been a huge struggle this season. We haven't found the end zone. We hardly find the end zone. I mean, in Southern Miss game, yeah, we found the end zone a few times. But it almost seems like it gets worse when we cross the 50 when it comes to the touchdown ratio. It's like
it
as soon as we
does.
get closer within range, we kind of forget what's going on. I mean, the offense all season so far has just been spinning its wheels. So we haven't, we'll have a one game where the receivers look okay, and then the next game the running backs look okay. I think certainly this game we only had really one receiver that looked good, and it was Sean Atkins with I
Hmm.
think it was 125 yards. Um, no touchdowns for him still, but that's no discredit to him. He was fighting all game for everything we could get him. Um,
Yeah.
and we just didn't have those opportunities to throw touchdown passes. And certainly, obviously, brought Byram. Here we
Well,
are again, no
yeah.
touchdowns.
The funny thing is, you're talking about no receiving touchdowns for Atkins and no passing touchdowns for Byram, but the only touchdown we had was a pass from Atkins to Byram, on a
Yep.
trick play. And so, and obviously, we were against a really good defense, so there was a little bit of trickery at play, but we that's how we had to get into the end zone. And at least we did get those points on the board.
Yeah.
Um,
At least
but
we
yeah,
got something on the board, right?
yeah,
But yeah, it's just been tough all season. It's been really tough to watch this offense kind of sputter out, especially compared to that last season. We've talked about this a couple times of how that was our shining point and the team last year is we were going to go out there and score 49 points. We might have given up 50 or
hmm
60 points, which we did a couple times, but we scored points all year long last year.
yeah,
It's not happening this year, and that's scary to me. And we have a lot of guys that are returning guys. It's the same offense, the same coach, the same style. Um, I just don't know if there's just more pressure on these guys this year to produce. Um,
Well, and so I don't know if it's fair to say that that it's not happening. It didn't happen in two cases, and they were both against top 10 teams. That's Alabama and Miami. We did beat Bethune-Cookman 45-3, and then we beat um, uh, whoever it was last weekend,
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss, yeah, as well. We put some points up, and so there are points, being put up, but you know, we just couldn't get by, these big defenses
A competitive
and
defense.
competitive defenses, which we're going to face more. Coming up Tulane and Memphis, they're going to have stout defenses. They might not be, SEC or the Miami defense that we faced last weekend, but they're going to come out to compete, and they got a formidable defense on both of those teams as well.
Yeah.
So we are going to have to figure something out. Um, obviously our passing game, wasn't any better. We've been talking about this, the whole season. Our passing game still hasn't really shown up. And the thing is, Miami, kind of keyed in on that, and they say,
It's
well, they're not going to be able to pass. So, let's put pressure. Let's rush five. Our running game, what we had 32 rushes for 60 yards
yeah.
or something like that. We basically had no running game, and that's including when Byram would tuck it and go.
Yeah.
He
No.
couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
I was going to say, I mean, the out of the backfield, the knight in shining armor was Tayron Keith again. But
mhm.
even that really was just one nice play at the end of the first half, that screen pass where, boy, do I wish he could have just got that extra 4 or 5 yards into the end zone. It'd made me feel a little bit better going into the half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was a nice screen play. And, when he gets the ball in space, uh, it shows you he can beat anyone. I mean,
hmm
he got down the field pretty well there, but yeah, it's football. You got to establish a run game to establish a pass game, and we very quickly showed them uh, that well, hey, we couldn't really do either. And it's so they keyed in on the run, they stopped the run, and they kind of let us kind of squirm a little bit in the pass game. And there was a time here or there where we hit a couple and that was nice, but there was just no consistency.
hmm
And, and that's where you get this 50 to 15 score from where, we had a decent amount of passing yards. Like I said, 254 passing yards, not the greatest, but definitely
hmm
not, it didn't goose egg us in the passing game. But
Yeah.
at the end of the
Well,
day, those
and
passing yards don't have a touchdown stat behind them.
that's right.
That's
Those
where,
passing yards didn't turn into points on the board,
right.
in a lot of those cases, which is what we need. We need to be able to get in the end zone specifically. Getting down there and settling for a field goal is fine, but getting in the end zone is what we need to do, and we just haven't been able to finish on that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already bitten us. But here coming into conference play, that's going to be of the utmost importance. We're going to have to be able to put points up on these teams.
Yeah. But I guess speaking of putting points up, Miami certainly didn't have too much trouble doing that on Saturday. Let's talk about defense a little bit. You know, I was, one thing that we could hang our hat on in the Alabama game was that defense put up a fight. We cannot say that this game. There's absolutely, I mean, I know we ended up giving up a lot of points against Alabama, but, and I honestly don't ever want to have to say this again, but that 3.5 quarters against
hmm
Alabama, that defense looked like a top tier defense. Of
hmm
course, things happen in the fourth quarter, guys wear down, they stretched it out on us and we kind of fell off a little bit. But against Miami, I mean, it was from the get go. There wasn't really anything I saw on defense that was good. I mean, we got to the
Yeah,
quarterback a couple of times, but this is the one quarterback where getting to him doesn't really matter. It's getting him on the ground that matters, and we
that's
didn't
right.
do that.
Yeah. And we maybe pushed them out of the pocket a couple times, but you know, Miami, their game plan, they were ready for us. They
Hmm.
knew what we were going to have to do and what we were going to be trying to do, and that's put pressure. And so they set up a lot of screens, and they were ready, for exactly what our game plan was. To try to make Cam uncomfortable and push him out of the pocket and they just saw it coming a mile away and were able to sidestep it.
Yep.
Uh,
I
yeah,
mean,
and
and I don't know if you saw some of these videos though. Some of those plays where we were able to get him to kind of step up in the pocket or have to kind of move a little bit. I mean, it almost is as if like he was smiling when that happened. Like that's
hmm
almost like where he gets more comfortable is like, oh, thank God. Now I mean, there was a couple of plays where we watched. I mean, he took a step up, looked right at his read, dumped the ball off, and he knew that was a first down before he even let the ball go. It was exactly what he wanted to happen. Almost is for them to put that
yeah,
pressure.
we were
Um,
playing
I
right into
mean,
their game. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what people going into this game, and I'll have to tip my hat to that guy. I mean, he and our coach has talked about it, and the weekly presser going into this, and even after the game, that guy's played a lot of college football. There's really no oh shit moments for him. He
hmm
knows he knows how to react in just about every situation, and he certainly showed us on Saturday that um, he's deserving of these I guess Heisman hopes is because he's been here, done that, and there's really no moment too big for him. Not to say that this USF game was going to be a moment that was too big for him, but even the little moments where there's three defensive linemen in his face. I mean, he didn't show an ounce of hesitation. He knew exactly what he was going to do and stepped up and
hmm
made it happen every time. And so I'll have to go ahead and tip my hat to him on that one.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and we're coming in. We were trying to be the underdogs, trying to punch them in the mouth, and again, they were well prepared. We were coming into this game, we were hoping we were going to kind of catch them sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
not ready for us. But, they saw that, we did play Alabama well. They knew we were going to come in with, a chip on our shoulder and, throw everything we could at them. And they were ready. We did not
Yeah.
catch them by surprise at all.
Yeah. It was almost
And
like they were, dangling the red sheet like a matador. They were like, yeah,
yeah,
come on.
yeah,
And then they would pull that
bathing
away
us in.
and they knew exactly what they were doing. So it
Yeah.
was tough to watch as a Bulls fan. Don't get me wrong, but,
It was, yeah.
hats off.
Through most of the first half, we were holding on to some hope that we were at least within a touchdown of them. Maybe, some things will go our way and we knew that Galesh had some things up his sleeve. He had that trick play we scored on, with Atkins to Brown. And then immediately following that, we had a surprise onside kick, which we did recover, but got called back because of the offsides. But, he was trying to, throw some things at him and, make some things go our way.
Hmm.
Um, but going into that, the end of the first half, uh, where we got down there and I think we missed the field goal, and then immediately they threw a 80-yard screen pass for a touchdown,
Once
which
again, a screen
com
pass,
yeah,
took advantage of our aggression, dumped a screen, and look at them go.
that's right, and that completely took the wind out of our sails, out of the team's sails, and everyone in the stands.
Yeah. At that
We
point,
were.
we kind of once again,
Mhm,
going back to earlier in the first quarter when we said if we don't figure out a way to stop them on offense, it doesn't matter how many points we score. As soon as they pulled away just a hair going into that
yeah,
half, we knew
it was out
it
of
was going to
reach.
be very few and far between that we were going to have an opportunity to score a touchdown. And they have scored just about every time they touch the ball. So when they start to pull away, this is the beginning of the end right here. And that was that last play. And then that was, back to that Teron Keith screen. That's how we bounced back from that play. And then we got down there and missed a field goal.
Hmm
So, um, you know,
Yeah.
just a rough kind of just, it's just how the cookie crumbles. I think, going into the game, I think Galesh's hope, especially bringing those trick plays out, bringing that onside kick out, is that we were going to shock them.
Hmm.
and get them behind and get them into a spot they haven't been in yet this season. And then that's where you're going to see those kind of mistakes get made because they were kind of at that point trying to pony up and come back and get back on top.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we
but
didn't
we
have that
never made them
opportunity.
uncomfortable at all. They were completely in control from the time they stepped on the field,
Yeah.
which, again, they're a top eight team, you know, and and they played like it, and we we were trying to throw something at them, but we just didn't have it. We had
Mm-hmm.
nothing to throw at them, and so that's all right. Our real season starts Saturday, in Louisiana. Playing Tulane and moving into conference play. So now our goal is to play these teams with take everything we've learned from these first four games, the good and the bad, and put it to good use and actually put up some competition here in the AAC. And that's what we need to focus on for the rest of the season. These games are in our past. It's next week. We got to go back to our process.
Yep.
And we know that Galesh has the boys, focused on this next game. We need to go 1-0 in this week and start our conference play out good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a fun matchup against
Hmm.
Tulane. I know they're coming into this game. I want to say, what are they, 2-2 coming into this game?
They
They
are 2-2. Yeah,
had
they just beat the Raging Cajuns
an
last
oddly
week. Yeah,
close game with the Raging Cajuns. I
yeah,
would have thought that. I mean, not to take anything away from Louisiana, but Tulane, that's a premier, at least group of five team, and
hmm
so um, yeah. But I watched some highlights against Louisiana. One thing I will say about Tulane that we've got to come in there ready for is that they can run the hell out of the ball.
they can. That's right.
They can run the hell out of the ball. So that's something that we got to be prepared to stop. I know what's the running back, Makai Hughes is who it is. He had
Hmm.
166 rushing yards last game against Louisiana with a touchdown. I was able to watch a few of those plays. He runs like a pro. I mean, he looks like he's very calm and poised, and he makes good decisions and gets down the field pretty good. He doesn't waste too much time going east and west. So um,
Yeah, yeah, and so that's one of their playmakers we're definitely going to have to stifle, and we're going to have to do that. And but we know that they just watched what happened to us against Miami, so they also know that we're going to try to bring pressure and we're going to try to stop that run game. So we also have to be hesitant, about that as well and realize, not let them just dump one over our shoulder, keying off on their heavy run game,
mhm.
because, we don't want to get caught in a trap again. Um, and I still think, that we have a solid defense. This last game wasn't evidence of that, but I think altogether we have a solid defense. We have a defensive front that can put pressure on a quarterback and that can stop the run game. Um, and so we need to intelligently, use those skills to attack Tulane, and we can't let them just dump it over our shoulders, like was happening all night last week.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely, yeah, I'm with you on that. I know they have a relatively mobile quarterback that he can make some things happen. They didn't look horrible on offense last week um, at all. I will say going into the game, at least for our offense, this looks like a defense that we're going to match up pretty well with.
Hmm.
They did give up almost 200 rushing yards against Louisiana, and not even like that's too much. I mean, it's more than you'd like to give up, but not too much. But just watching some of the highlights, it looks like Louisiana was able to get a pretty good amount of push on their defensive line and really create those gaps for their running backs. And I think, if we're able to do the same thing, we've got, just as talented of running backs as anyone, especially when there's open field in front of them.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping, we can kind of take advantage of that on the offensive side of the ball. Um, Also, the secondary looks like they didn't struggle too much in any shotgun scenario. they were able to kind of keep their coverage. But where I saw their secondary struggle a lot was against the play action pass. So if you can, they didn't really defend the mobile quarterback, which Louisiana's quarterback was able to run a decent amount against them.
Hmm.
But still, even the rollout, if they're rolling out and then you have these receivers kind of cutting across the field, there was a lot of gaps in that defense right there, and that's where Louisiana was able to kind of pluck some of those yards and those points. They ended up, what was it, a 40-33 or 44-33? So Louisiana didn't by any means struggle to move the ball.
Yeah, or put
But
points on the board there.
right,
Yeah.
but yet again, Tulane's offense was rolling pretty good too. So
Hmm.
it'll be an interesting matchup, I think, for us. Hopefully our defense can kind of bounce back. I know we're getting uh some guys were dinged up in the Miami game. Some guys got dinged up in Southern Miss. I know from what coach says, we shouldn't really be missing anyone this game on the defensive side of the ball. So hopefully we can kind of shore that up,
Hmm.
and then maybe expose a couple of gaps on their defense. But
Yeah.
this is a
And
huge
that
game for us. We got to win this
it
one.
is. Yeah, this is going to be our statement game. This is going to really determine, how the rest of our season is going to go.
Well, this is
Because
pretty much, I mean, not really, but of the three teams or maybe four teams that are really picked or poised to go to the AAC championship this year, Memphis is already down. They've already lost the
yeah,
game to
lost to
Navy,
Navy. Yeah.
which
Which
was a stunner, I think, last week, and that shows you that Navy's here to play.
exactly. I was going to say that poses another threat for us because Navy's on our schedule later in the year.
Yeah,
And so, we'll have to talk about that game further into the season. But, we weren't really thinking about Navy being a, big contender in the AAC until they knocked out, who we thought was going to be a contender. And Memphis still is. They're
yeah.
still going to be
Not
there.
saying they're not a good team. Navy
Yeah,
just
but
came ready to
it's
play
just adding
against.
another one to the fold. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
So,
Um, but
yeah,
going back to our, talking about, their defense and our offense, I think what you're talking about, their defense, not being able to handle the play action or, things like that, and there being gaps, it's going to really play well for us because we have a lot of, pre-snap movement, play action, type plays. And so, we are going to probably be able to disguise, a lot of the plays and we're going to be able to put points on the board here as well. We have to think that. Uh, so it's really going to come down to our defense, being able to stop them. And I think they're expecting it to be a high-scoring game. I think the spread's, only 7 points, which Tulane is favored to win. But I think our defense, has to step up here.
yeah,
Um, and for the most part, it's stopping their run. I think still, we've have a lot of passing yards against us this season. Uh, but for the most part, they're short underpasses, screens that break out for, big plays. I think down the field, we're covering pretty well. So yeah, I still have faith in our secondary, and I think we got a solid, front on our defense as well. So I am feeling confident about this game. Um, we'll just have to see how it plays out, really.
yeah. Well, I think so far this year, I mean, we've proven that we can, um, get to the quarterback. We've proven that we can cover receivers. We've done okay in the run stop. What we haven't proven, and obviously that's what Miami picked up on, is that we can't stop those, kind of those middle of the road plays, those screens, those 5 yard ins, 5 yard outs. That's where, I
Hmm.
mean, because against that Miami team, I think maybe Cam Ward threw the ball over 15 or 20 yards 2 or 3 times, and I think they were even for incompletions. I mean, he ate in those little 5 yard dump passes. That's where he ate all day.
Hmm.
And that's what they keyed in on coming into that game, was that they can cover a receiver downfield better than they have been able to in the past. They can get to the quarterback maybe better than they have in the past. Let's see how much film they watch, or let's see how prepared they are for something other than that, though. And
Yeah.
or let's see how they can adjust to this, because we probably weren't preparing for that going into this game. These guys to do these 5 yard, 10 yard passes, but there was not the whole game. And I hoped maybe coming out of the second half there was going to be an adjustment. There wasn't. There was no adjustment to that offensive
Hmm.
style. And so I would have to think that Todd Orlando is in the meeting rooms this week and on the practice field, kind of preparing these guys.
Addressing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, listen, obviously people are now watching that game, saying this is what we can do against them. We have to fix it." Um,
Yeah.
but that's really the scary part right now for me is are we going to come out there and do the same thing we did against Miami and let them just kind of eat those 5 or 10 yard chunk plays all game? Because that's simply what happened against Miami. They had that one screen pass that went for like 70 yards. But other than that, I
Yeah.
think like average yards per play though was still probably 10 to 15 because they'd throw a 5 yard
Hmm.
pass and run 10 yards before we can get anyone to them.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and keep getting first downs, and that's something, on our offensive side that we couldn't do. But going back, to Tulane, I think, for Tulane, we're going to be able to penetrate a little bit more, and so they're not going to have as much time to sit back there and pick an open receiver. I think their quarterback is going to feel more pressure. I think they're going to lean heavier on the run, and yeah, I feel like we should be able to match up with them much better. Our defense has shown that there are holes, and so they're going to be able to score. They're going to be able to drive it, but every once in a while we're going to have to make a stop. We're going to
Yeah.
have to, force some three and outs. We're going to have to get back to forcing some turnovers. We would much prefer our offense to be on the field more than our defense. Our offense is, our high-powered weapon, and that's what's going to be good for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Miami game, we had one interception, and quite honestly, it wasn't. It fell into our hands.
Yeah.
The receiver literally caught it and then turned around and tossed it to our defensive back. But in the previous games, we had been causing turnovers, so we need to get back to that. Put our hat on the ball and knock some fumbles out, and try to get some interceptions as well. We need to do whatever we can to stop their offensive green wave. No.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's almost like arena football in a way where uh, the strategy in arena football isn't really dominate them on defense and score points on offense. It's whatever defense has the most stops typically wins the game, and that's
Hmm.
obviously how it goes in anything. But those guys were scoring. They're arena football. They were scoring 60, 70 points a game. It was basically like if you got to stop, oh crap, here we go, we're going to win this ball game.
Yeah.
And it's as much as I hate this style of football, as much as I'd love to have that defense that gets shutouts and barely gives up points. That's just how it is in I think the AAC right now, and that's
Hmm.
how that almost like that West like that Pac-12 kind of style of football is. Let's score as many points as we can, and if we can make a stop or two on defense, great, we might win this ball game. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where we're at right now. Which once again, it's uh, not my favorite way to play, but
Yeah.
that's just where we are.
That's the reality we're living in right now. Yeah. All right. So, we've talked a little bit about the game. So what are your predictions for the game?
Um, Score prediction.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a high scoring game, at least a relatively high scoring game. I think the defenses are good enough to not. This is I'd say I'd like to see about 42 to 35 us.
Okay.
Um, and I'm going to be biased and say, I want us to win. This is a USF football podcast. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say I think Tulane's going to win. Personally, I don't think Tulane's going to win. I think we're going to win. I do think they're going to score points, and that's what I think it's going to be.
I agree. And 42 to 35's, about right. Uh, I do think, we'll end up putting up a couple of field goals. We're not going to, because of our struggles so far this season, and we haven't always put the ball in the end zone. I can't say we're going to come out and, score 6 touchdowns. Yeah, but I do think, we'll be, right there around, 34 to 28, let's say. We'll beat them by around a touchdown. Uh, but I don't know that we'll be able to score touchdown every time. I'd love that to happen, but I just don't know if that's a reality.
Yeah.
I will say we're definitely going to cover the spread, which is USF +7, and we need an outright win, and I'm very confident that we can do that. We can produce that from what I've seen out of our team this season, and hopefully from the lessons they've learned from the game so far this season.
Yeah. And no, I actually, thinking back about that score prediction, I have to leave a little bit of room for Grammatica to go out there and kick a 60-yarder or something like that. So,
Yeah.
I think he's going to have his
Well,
fair share of attempts, but
yeah, and so Grammatica got the 51-yarder, I think. Was it Cannon that got the 58-yarder?
no, it was Grammatica who hit the big one against Miami, and then Cannon hit a 40-yarder, I believe, and then missed that one right before the half.
Okay.
Which was an interesting topic, I think, in the presser. They were kind of saying, all right, you guys are, you've been rotating kickers. Is this over yet? And coach said, certainly not. Yeah, that's how we're going to do that. We're going to continue to do this all season. This is where we're comfortable. This is where our
Hmm.
guys are. So they're going to keep giving Grammatica those long shots, and they're going to keep giving Cannon those shorter chip shots. And Grammatica is going to kick off still, and I don't mind it, but at some point, um, you know, I'd like to see us pick one. I don't like,
Yeah,
I don't really care for the keeping everyone happy kind of thing.
yeah,
Just pick
and
one
I
and
don't
go.
think I don't know that's what coach is doing. And quite honestly, I'm not going to question what he's doing. He's done very well so far. I'm very happy with the way he's coached the team and the decisions he's making. So, I'm let him make these decisions if he wants to. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter to me if we have one guy doing it all or if we can, split the time there. But what matters to me is that we do make those easy 40-yard field goals, uh, and put points on the board when we have opportunities. Not only did we miss that one, by the way, we also had a extra point blocked,
yeah,
which wouldn't have made much of a difference in the long run, but you can't give up sure points like that.
yeah.
Um,
I was going to say, if we lost by 3 points, I'd be a little bit more upset about Cannon missing that field goal. But you know,
yeah.
he's been good. He's been accurate. He's had a couple of long kicks this year too. Uh,
Hmm.
and like I said, we lost by 45 points. So the 3 points we
Hmm.
gave up in that first half, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So in other news, speaking of Tulane in our game coming up, we did just hear that Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, and USF are all staying here in the AAC,
Yeah,
which, quite honestly, I think is the move for our current environment.
yeah,
In the Pac-12, they were sniffing around over here, which would have taken essentially the core of the AAC and moved them out to a West Coast conference, which Pac-12 they used to have the Conference of Champions here, but they're not what they once were. They're not a Power Five conference anymore. The competition they've brought up from the Mountain West is solid competition, but no better than the competition we have right here. So I
yeah.
think that's a good move for us, and I'm glad to see that all four teams stayed here together rather than splitting up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I saw they released the picture on Instagram. It said "We are the AAC," and it was just the four teams. And I was like, I wonder how the rest of the AAC feels about that. But no, I think it was. We talked about this a little bit. I thought it was flattering. That's what kind of where I'll put it is. I thought it was flattering that we were one of the teams that was picked as a potential fit for that position, but I don't think the Pac-12 had fully really thought it through. I think if they really wanted a chance at these schools that are looking to jump into, I think in the near future, I don't even think it's going to be this year or even next year maybe, but in the near future, looking to kind of move up into a different conference, they needed to have the financials kind of laid out on the table a little bit more. I think that was like a little bit of a shot in the dark. I don't they were going to give us what 2.5 million towards our $25 million buyout,
Exit
which
fee. Yeah.
wasn't going to do it. And they had no, if they couldn't lay out a media contract that was well over what we're getting now with ESPN and the AAC.
They don't have a media contract. They
Right.
don't have a long-term media contract. They have
Yeah.
local media contracts, but nothing that,
Yeah.
is of any
If
substance.
they just
And
said, "Hey,
so,
we got a $25
yeah,
million contract with CBS or something crazy like that." Oh, all
yeah,
right. Well, now that's almost double what we're getting right now.
yeah,
But we were going to pay more money to go play on the West Coast to make
yeah,
maybe the same money and to have an identical path to the playoff, which was you got to win
yeah.
your conference
Not
and
great.
then
Yeah.
maybe you might get picked.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I am glad to see that the Pac-12 is, trying to come back to life here, albeit killing another conference in the Mountain West, in the doing. But we're this is not our time to make a jump in any realignment, and it's probably not going to come for a few years, which is fine. We still have some work to do on ourselves. We need to make ourselves ready, competitive, product on the field. We already have in the works our stadium coming in the next couple of years, which will be a big help. But in order for us to be sought after by a Power Four conference, we need to have a brand that when people see USF on their schedule, they think twice. They're not think it's going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
And so we still need to build that. We are not a 1-11 team anymore, but we're not a conference champion yet in the AAC, and we need to be there multiple years in a row to be considered to move up.
Yeah. No, yeah. I've seen a lot of comments on the post that not only USF's made, but the American Conference has made about it. And a lot of people are really upset about the decision for these schools not to go. And I think really they're just kind of looking at the logo of the Pac-12 and they don't really realize that it's kind of like a hollow shell at this point. There's
It
nothing
is,
behind that
yeah,
logo, not even a media contract yet. And
yeah,
not to mention the reason that the whole conference fell apart in the first place was because of a, for lack of a better term, a shitty media contract that basically caused everyone to dump and run. Um,
yeah. Well, and their league commissioner was just, not making good moves.
yeah,
And so, I feel like, I'm happy with the American. Obviously, we have Power Four aspirations, but, you know, the American, I feel, is the fifth conference
yeah,
right now.
and possibly even getting stronger. I think
Yeah.
with what's conference
That,
realignment for the group or the Power Four right now is also happening in the Group of Five, and I think some of the more cream of the crop schools in these other conferences are rising to the top of their conferences, and the AAC is looking at that. They're trying to make the
mhm.
AAC is trying to create as powerful of a conference as they can as well. So
Yeah.
we have to also keep that in mind. I know there were some teams that we had talked about, pulling in as well. So
Yeah. Air
I'm
Force and
yeah.
Liberty, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not totally unhappy with the AAC. I don't think any of us are, and of course we'd like that Power Four pedigree, but there's worse places to be certainly. So
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And, quite honestly, we may not be ready, for that Power Four, a full Power Four conference schedule yet.
not yet.
Um, but we can always dream, and we'll see how it plays out. But first, like I said, let's get through this season. Let's get through this conference schedule, and starting off against Tulane, that's where we got to go.
Yeah, I got you. I hear you. But all right, everyone, this has been the fifth episode of Bulls Brothers podcast. Once again, follow us @ _Bulls Brothers on Instagram.